My name is Michael Blake. Bless up right there, you know. I served as an assemblyman before this. Let me do the personal piece first. You know, born and raised in the Bronx, public schools K through 12. My family's from Jamaica. I was one of two that was born here. My full name is Michael Alexander Blake, named after Michael Manley Alexander Bustamante.
Yes.
Let's look at that. My mama raised 4 boys. I'm the youngest of 4. Worked in a manufacturing plant and had the opportunity to change our lives. My daddy, God rest his soul, was a janitor at St. Barnabas Hospital. When I left from here, I went to Northwestern University, studied journalism, and then afterwards had the opportunity to work for President Obama. I worked for him for 7 years. I was in the White House for 2.5 years. I led all his African American and minority business outreach at the White House. We had the largest increase in jobs and wage creation. I was part of I was part of the team that made it a point on what we did around the Affordable Care Act, etc. When I came back home, I was elected to Assembly. I served for 6 years in the Assembly. We created the My Brother's Keeper program, which focused on helping boys and young men in school, go to school and graduate from school. We created the effort around the prompt pay bill, so we were able to pay businesses faster that would be waiting for payments across the city and state. And now we're taking this step to run for mayor. I think there's very specific things that we need to be doing. Simply put, it is too expensive in New York City. What is happening right now, we don't have the proper quality of life that we deserve. And there are specific steps that I want to take to be able to change the game forward and with you. First and foremost, I think we have to figure out how we protect and ensure truly affordable housing. And that's everything from ending credit scores being used for rent homeownership applications, which regularly are blocking out people from an opportunity, to increasing the income limits on applications, because too often you have to be rich or just poor enough to get access to a home, and it's wrong. And it's not right. We need to make sure we're actually protecting our seniors when it comes to Medicaid and Medicare. And being very clear, as I was just saying to the gentleman, that if Trump continues to attack us, then we need to take the steps on how do we withhold our funding and sending it to DC. It doesn't make sense to us that we're going to help someone that's going to be hurting us. I think every student should have civics, financial literacy, and mental health before they graduate from school.
Agreed.
We believe that there should be a greater focus on what happens around public safety, where you have 1,000 mental health professionals actually addressing the mental health crisis, because the NYPD will tell you they were not trained on addressing what's happening with mental health. I chaired the Mitchell-Lama subcommittee, so everything around affordable housing, whether it be Left Rock City or Rochdale Village or Co-op City or Concourse Village, we understand that you not only need to have better quality of life and protection when it comes to your housing, but it's also about making sure that everyone, whether it be a kid or a senior, is protected in between. I've worked at every level of government, local, state house, and White House. Make sure to use a flash. I'm a dark brother. Help me out right now. Okay? Just help me out right now. You know? I had some folks like, I saw you on TV. Yes, that was me. I appreciate that right there. I've been a part of the team that's defeated Donald Trump. I also think it's important that when anyone comes before you, this goes too far. When anyone comes before you, they should be able to tell you how they're going to pay for things. And I've said very simply that you should have a vacant apartment tax for the people that are holding on to the apartments that are not living in New York City. Tax them so we can generate revenue for our own costs. We should be focused on the close to $1.4 billion right now that NYPD had in excessive overtime that wasn't addressing public safety. But if we actually brought that back in, we can pay for our bills. We should be very thoughtful on what's happening around the $2 billion right now of unclaimed fees and fines, a lot of it from parking tickets. So there's things that we can do to pay our bills and make it happen and change the game for the better. And so I'm coming to you to say very simply, again, my name is Michael Blake. I'm the 9th name on the ballot. There are 11 of us who made the ballot. You'll see all of us on stage on Wednesday for the debate on NBC4. But I'm being very clear on this. If we want to change and have a vision on how do we actually have affordable quality of life the way that we deserve, if we actually want to have a game plan on how do we defeat and check the foolishness of Trump, if we want to be serious on how do we do everything from protecting our Medicaid, our Medicare, our pension, our benefits, and actually ensuring that we can do something different, and if you want someone who is a husband, who is a bonus father, who is from New York, who has done the work consistently, my name is Michael Blake, and I ask that you rank me first to be your next mayor. And so I'm happy to take any and all questions. We've given out literature. I would like to do one thing, because I'm an organizer by nature. if you have your phones out, etc. I would like for you, let me give you my website right now, and I'm going to give you an email where you can contact me.
Directly?
Directly.
All right. I have it also.
I'm going to give it to you right now. Jim, what's up, brother? And you can go online and read it. BLAKEFORNYC.com. BLAKEFORNYC.com. The email, Michael Blake at BlakeForNYC.com. You got it? Let me do it again.
No, I got it.
Michael Blake at BlakeForNYC.com. Happy to take your questions, everybody.
How are we going to handle that? In Left City, I've noticed and observed that it escalates quite quickly, whether someone's in the wrong or not. And that is not right. Not for our young people, not for our people, not for people that are walking the street. So that's one that I want to know. What is going to be the police practices and how are you guys going to handle that? Because that's going to be a problem out here. That's number one. Number two, this price gap. I spoke to many people about this. A shopping cart that was $40 is $100. I spoke to many people and no one has addressed it. These are two things I would like to know how each one of you candidates are going to handle this if you are elected and know that we're going to hold you accountable to what you say here.
All right, Michael Blake, you can let everyone know what the question was.
So the how to hold how are we going to address price gouging? So to the first one, what was your name again, sister? Jen. So Jen. So the first piece, there are specific steps that any mayor can immediately and does immediately have within their purview. Whether it be changing the NYPD commissioner, whether it be totally actually putting in real accountability for CCRB, recognizing that whatever is happening in DC, obviously you can always go to court and protect and change that regardless of what's happening. And I think that we have to take real critical steps on how do we hold them accountable. For example, I have said there should be a registry for every officer who had an infraction of police misconduct for someone to understand how does that person still have a job, especially before they took the job before getting here. You have that for any other infraction for other jobs as well. That's a first step in holding people accountable. Second, I think every officer, it needs to be mandatory, has a body camera on at all times. It would actually create accountability in both regards so that someone doesn't feel like they actually can have immunity to do whatever the hell they want, because that's wrong. Third, there has to be greater concrete funding and legality around CCRB holding people accountable if and when they do something wrong. Because right now, we don't actually know what's regularly happening because it's not actually being reported out in any real way. So to your question, those are three very specific things on how we can hold people accountable given what's going on with courts and giving way too much power to NYPD in that regard. And I also say, when you go back to the point I raised around the $1.4 billion happening as it relates to excessive overtime, that had nothing to do with increased public safety. That was officers saying they were working because they had a staffing shortage. And that creates a scenario where misconduct will happen. And so those are very specific things. To the point around price gouging, regulators have said, when we know that it happens, because unfortunately it's happening too often, we have to not only have an excessive fine on the entity and the company that's doing that, but then we have to take the step of how do you start rescinding their licenses from them doing business in New York. And that's in every regard. That's whether it be around prescription drugs, where we have to have an increase in generic prescription drugs, but we also be very intentional around the vendors, to the vendors who are utilizing the monopolies and effectively saying, if there's no competition, they're just going to raise costs on everybody else. That is wrong, it's unacceptable. And the way we can counter that is saying, when we find out that you do this, an excessive fine to the amount that you have gouged individuals around, which of course would happen through settlements and other class actions. But then if it happens a second time, if the person's not egregious enough, rescind their ability to be able to do business in New York. When you check someone in that kind of a way, they recognize very quickly how serious you are. And as someone, I run a small business myself, I led small business efforts, we have to understand that too often, it's already too expensive in New York City already.
Yes.
When you have gouging that's happening, it's making it even harder for everybody. And that's very specific to Left Rock City, but that's specific for people across the city as well.
Yes.